Hello, it's Bourbon Night. Welcome in, everyone.
A very special live.
A very special live.
We're doing a barrel pick.
Doing
a barrel pick.
A barrel pick, yes. The irony is not lost on any of us, Sarah. It's a barrel pick. It's a barrel pick of barrel. And we have to wait just 1 second because I accidentally, instead of putting them in the green room, I just hung up on everybody. I said, click, click, click.
They were here early like you asked, and then Chad was like, okay, see ya. Yep. Hang up. So we'll give that just a minute on that.
We're just waiting on one more person to call back in because of my hanging up.
You know, it's okay.
Yeah.
It happens. We have 5 samples to go through.
Yes, we have an A, B, C, D, and E.
Completely blind.
All we know is the proof.
And that they're from
Barrell. Yeah.
Barrell Craft Spirits.
So we're going to be completely blind, and we are going to be bringing in a couple people from Barrell who will eventually let us know what we pick, but we don't want to know what we pick until afterwards.
No.
But they'll also be here to kind of guide us through this pick, and then also joining us, our winner of our Patreon, I guess, contest, or what would you call it, Sarah?
I guess it's a lottery. Just like bottles. You entered to be selected.
Exactly, yeah. Joining us from Patreon is Andrew Bolin, and he's the one who hasn't called back yet for me kicking him out.
Said he's gonna.
Okay, good. So
he's probably just punishing you.
Yeah, probably.
You did deserve it.
I did. Hey, we have our first super chat of the evening, and it's from Sean Dobbins.
Thanks, Sean.
It says happy. Oh, I like that.
Happy birthday-ish.
Yeah, I thought you were going with for an IBN in birthday there for a second, but I think it was just a typo.
I think so, but it's cool.
Yeah, but it is cool. There's Drew.
But thank you. I will. Well, here's the cowbell, and I don't have anything in the glass, so we'll give you a cowbell cheers shortly.
We will.
But thank you. Yes, it was on Thursday. It was delightful. We celebrated yesterday. We did all the things that I wanted to do, and I loved it.
That's right.
And then today I made myself a special birthday dinner. So I've been having a great time.
Yes.
And now we're doing a barrel pick.
Could
you ask for more? Could you ask for a better birthday weekend?
Not at all.
It's a very barrel birthday weekend. I love it. All right.
Michelle Martin with a nice super chat here as well. Happy birthday, Sarah. Looking forward to the barrel pick.
You know what? A triangle for everyone. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Michelle.
Can't wait to see you later this month. It'll be great.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring him in.
All right. He's been on the show twice before. This will be his third time.
Hey, that's right. A returning guest.
A returning guest, friend of the show, if you will. Please welcome, gotta find the button, to the show, Will Schragus, who is the Chief Product Innovation Officer. Let's bring him in. Will, say hello. Can we hear you? Ah, there we go.
Number 3.
Number 3.
I don't need an age statement anymore.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome.
James Wolfton, super chat here. Happy birthday, Sarah. So great to see you guys at Bourbon on the Banks. That was fun. It's good to see you and Cheryl. And we saw a lot of people. A lot of people there.
We did.
During that. So thank you, James. Again, we're going to get something in our glass, and we're going to properly...
We will cheers you in just one moment.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Also... you do it.
No, you do it. Okay. No, you go.
Also from the Barrell team. She is the Senior Brand Development Manager for the Mid-Atlantic. Let me find the button to welcome in Lindsay Gulick. Gulicks.
We went through this 3 times before.
I know.
Wow.
It's live jitters. Live jitters. Yeah, sorry about that. But welcome, Lindsay.
It happened. Us on. First of all, because Lindsay covers a huge amount of territory for us and probably does more tasting barrel picks with people than almost anyone in the company. And so I can pretend to do this with you, but actually Lindsay has tasted more of these picks than I have in the past year, I would guess.
Nice.
She's the champ.
And also, since I've been here a couple times, Lindsay and I were in the same wine tasting group studying for SOM exams in our early 20s. So we've actually known each other for a lot longer than we've worked together. So
who got the higher test scores? I'm just kidding.
Obviously, Lindsay.
We're the same. Right?
We took different tests.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was like, who's setting the curve in the class.
Well, she was in the AP classes. And, no, I'm kidding, Will. I'm kidding.
We do have one.
If it is informational or data, I would trust Lindsay more than me. And if it is how to talk out of your ass, I'd trust me more than Lindsay. Right?
It's about our dynamic as well. welcome our last guest for the evening.
But not least.
But not least. We referenced him earlier as being that lucky patron. We feel lucky to have him.
Just to know him, honestly.
As a patron. Please welcome Drew Bolin. Drew, how are you, sir?
Doing great.
Oh, man, you got Barrell.
Look at that
Craft
staging back there.
in
Wow.
the background.
That is professional.
I mean, technically we do too. It's right. Yeah.
That's true.
No one checked me out.
We've always got those there, you know.
Well, thanks to all of you
That's
for
their home.
joining us tonight to do this pick. I can't wait to taste through these 5 samples.
Oh.
It's very exciting. Will, if you would tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing, because we, other than knowing sample A through E and the proof, we actually don't know anything else about these. These are blind to everyone except Will.
And we don't really
We don't want to know too much. But the audience
but
needs
just
to know.
what you can. And if those of you who are playing at home, if you want to go ahead and pour sample A, we'll go ahead and have it opening up in the glass.
What I think is important about this flight is they are not in any order. They're in random. Everything here is a whiskey. There's no rum here, even though occasionally we have tossed rum in these. And what I think is important for the two of you and for Andrew to know is, as we discussed when we were talking about doing this in general, our company has an unofficial policy that if people are willing to taste completely blind, not knowing what category, finish, bourbon, single barrel, not single barrel, private release, those are the tastings that we reserve samples that we personally like most for. So there are 5 samples here. Everything is a whiskey. Some of it is bourbon, some of it is not bourbon. Some of it is single barrel, some of it is not single barrel. There's a couple different finishes, and a couple of them were when I was last in Kentucky and tasting through like 40 samples in a day with Nick. A couple that I put an asterisk next to in my name in terms of like.
That is very exciting.
Okay. Yeah, because, normally when you pick a single barrel, you're picking a single barrel. But with Barrell Craft Spirits, you guys, do a lot of blends and finishes and what's nots. So what we're picking will, if it ends up being not an actual single barrel, and it's a you all like to say marriage, right? A marriage, because blend can sometimes have a bad connotation because of blended whiskey, but it will end up being basically a barrel's worth of whiskey.
Yeah, so we have in our sort of exclusive pick program, we have 2 different categories. We have single barrels, which is a little bit self-explanatory, and then we have the side that we are actually sort of more proud of because it speaks more to what we do as a company called the private release program, where we use barrels as marrying casks, and we make unique blends that will only be made once and sort of are only available to someone as if they were picking a single barrel. And so we call that a private release because we want to be honest about the fact that the whiskey that went into it came from a lot of different places. It was a blend, like one singular blend, but the yield of it is that of a single barrel. So they're all between, let's say, 160 and 210 bottles or so. And both the single barrel program and the private release program are represented in this blind tasting.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was excited because when you said, if you want to do more of a dealer's choice, like we can get some interesting stuff in there. And for me, like you guys have so much in your catalog that who would know better than you, right? I'm not going to know better, so
I mean, Drew,
I'm very excited.
Drew would probably have an idea, but
50 to 80% of the time, people end up picking not the thing that they were looking for when we do this. So I'm actually kind of excited. If you guys had picked what category you wanted beforehand, what do you think that you would have wanted to taste? Just so we can see if you end up picking that or not.
I don't know. I don't feel like we're we're a little bit Kentucky biased because we're both
we just have a taste for
born
it.
and raised in Kentucky. We have a taste for it. But, I don't think there was really a hard and fast one that we would have picked. What about you, Drew?
I love a lot of the ryes. Honestly, I think that the finished ryes are phenomenal. I'm not sure how well they sell, but it's probably one of my favorite things that you guys have. I've had a couple of them that tasted just like turkey, and I loved them. But at the same time, I wanted a little bit more from it, so I'm just excited to see what we have.
Nice.
For sure.
Nice.
Gerald Giggs just called me out in the chat here. I said 50 to 80. It's about 80. I don't know why I said 50. It's about 80% of the people.
Oh. I was like, wait, I must have missed that.
Oh, that's all good.
And someone totally called me out in the chat. And
Keep them honest. We want to catch up on a couple super chats here. This one's from JG. He says, 877, happy birthday now. Hashtag Team Sarah. He is a big Sarah fan.
Thank you,
Hold that
JG.
cowbell for a second, Sarah, because we got another one from Tony Joey Bag of Donuts saying, happy birthday, Sarah. Can't wait to cheers you in person. Hope you saw my message. Woohoo! While I don't have sample A, I'll pour some Armida and Dovetail. Cheers to Barrel Craft Spirits.
Yes.
Now, a proper cheers of the cowbell.
Part of me is like a little bit sad that I'm not having the vantage because we're already drinking 5 things. So I'm like, after this, maybe I'll have a glass.
Maybe some seagrass if I'm
Maybe,
feeling
who knows?
islandy, you know? And I often am. All right, does everyone have theirs? Oh, Drew's going Copita. Nice move, Drew.
Only
Baller.
the first. Only the first.
Only the first? Okay.
Only the first.
So kind of, and I'm speaking to the...
When you're doing a pick, I know we spoke about this before. I want to not have a lot of influence over what you ultimately pick, but I do think it is important to have a little bit of structure about how you're making the selection. These are all cask strength. If people spend too long trying to analyze everyone to every detail you might get out of it, you end up ruining your palate by the end of the flight.
Absolutely.
And so if you're looking at more than 2 or 3 samples, the best way to go about it at first is to eliminate things as quickly as possible. If something is not going to make it to the last 2 or 3, it's not worth thinking about it. And so I actually would kind of go through them either however you guys want to do it, one by one, or all of them first. And something that is not exciting to you, Lindsay and I are not going to be offended. Just be like,
sure.
The nose on this, palate on this, whatever it is, if it's not going to win, cut it loose.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you making it a safe space for us. But also, I have to say, I'm really glad that you said that because that is like my mentality when I go into barrel picks when we're on location too, especially when they give you, you know, like 6, 7, 8, 10, like at Four Roses. I'm always team, like, we need to cut at least half of them, if not just 2 to 3 up front, because I just don't want to be tasting and talking about all of these if they're just if they were never going to make it, if the group can agree that these 2 or 3 aren't it for us.
Right.
So I'm really glad that you said that and validated my approach, because Chad doesn't like it when I make him choose.
Well, you know. But, you know, just because we're going to say this isn't the one, I mean, typically when we do, and not always, but typically when we do a barrel pick, we're like, there's not a bad one in this bunch, you know. But
it's about
you have
preference,
to pick the one that you think is really going to represent IBN and people are going to, you know, gravitate towards us. And Trev Wilson, who's another channel here, the Bourbon Ranch on YouTube, he's got a little tip. He says, my tip to everyone who is doing the pick, argue your point no matter what. If you truly like something better, argue your case. Don't conform to someone else, even if you're nervous.
Don't worry about it. Chad's got that part down.
Yeah.
He will not conform.
That's true. So we've I don't know about you guys, but we had 2 sips of A on our palate.
I'll go back.
What? Oh, were you already on C?
Well, I was kind of taking Will's suggested approach to taste them all first and then go back and think about, spend more time with the ones I like.
I'm just thinking
it's
about...
It's your show, Chad. I'm just...
No.
I'm just living in it.
I'm just thinking about also including everyone here in the chat who doesn't have these in front of them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get a nice berry note on the nose of A that I like.
Yep. Drew, how you feeling about A?
I like it. It has a rye spice to it, which is nice.
Yep.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, it's nice and
mouthfeel.
warm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cuts the tongue very well. I feel like the rear of the tongue's not quite as spicy, but the front and the sides, very good.
Yeah, I think having that one first, as I was thinking about it, I was like, wow, this is really setting the stage for what I think is going to be a delightful flight.
Yeah, I think it's desserty.
Yeah, it is desserty.
The first thing I wrote down was wow. But that was also my first whiskey of the day. Well, it's not true. I had a cocktail.
You did have a cocktail.
But first straight pour of the day. Michelle Martin here with Super Chat. Michelle, thank you very much. She says, we bought a Vantage this weekend and have it in our glass now. Delicious!
Yes.
Thanks for all the good stuff you do, Barrel.
Oh.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for the
Thank
super
you
chat. Yeah.
for being a fan. Were it not us tasting these 5 samples, I'd probably be sitting on some Vantage right now too. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm
Yeah.
like, we'll probably watch an episode of TV or something after this, and I might reach for that.
Yeah.
Just to close out the birthday weekend.
Now here's my kind of
Happy
pro
birthday.
tip
Oh, thank you.
that I haven't seen anyone else ever agree with, but we're all different, right?
I hate this.
My pro
I hate
tip
this.
is water alone does not cleanse my tongue or my palate of what I was drinking last. So I do a little bit of cola sometimes.
interesting. Your stabilizer is Coca-Cola.
But it's
Well,
something that he drinks.
It water is neutral,
To
right?
my dismay, he drinks it every day.
Water-
So it's very. He's accustomed to it.
Water is Switzerland, right? It's just it's neutral. That's not going to get if it's a flavor that I want. If I want to be reset, I want to shock that tongue.
It's an interesting approach, Chad. I'd like to know.
I always go back to water though.
I want to know, Lindsay, what do you think? One, about just like how do you approach picks, since you do so many of them, as Will said, and then that can lead into your thoughts about A, if you want to share them.
I'm similar to Will. I like to smell them all first and kind of like push the ones that aren't really expressive on the nose like out at first and then taste through them. And usually the ones that aren't expressive on the nose kind of are the same on the palate, but then also sometimes they aren't, which is interesting. Like for sample A, I really thought that it was lacking on the nose, but then on the palate it was a lot more generous. It was like nuttier and it had like a figgy dried fruit note to it. But I didn't get that so much from the nose. So I kind of like the palate better than the nose on that one. But I usually eliminate first which ones that don't like on the nose, and then I kind of confirm on the palate. But I do go through them
Nice.
all like Will does first.
I like this approach. I'm wondering if we should take this approach.
Ugh.
I know. Well, we always do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Lindsay. Like, I wasn't... Like, at first, I kind of struggled to get nosy notes on A. And then when I tasted it, it was like, like caramely, nutty, like fig and dark berry. And I really like that. And, like, not overly sweet. Yeah. I'm a fan.
Andrew and Chen, Sarah, have you guys been through all 5 already now?
No.
Nope, I'm on B.
I started going that way, and then Chad said, stop. Go back.
No, I was just wanting the chat to hear.
That is fair.
The way that I really like to do these picks, and I think Lindsay and I sort of do it the same way, is everyone go through them quickly, like a first thought, best thought scenario. And then we propose kicking some out. And if no one is willing to die on the hill to keep it in, we just drop them.
I like your method. I'm going to do it.
Let's do it.
You do you.
No, let's do it. I'm down. Yeah, at least 2 sips though is what I'd recommend for anyone playing at home, because especially if you're not drinking anything in between, or if you just are doing water, you're gonna have A still on your palate while you're drinking B. So that second sip is really where things
For sure
show up.
I guess my method on this is not tasting for do I like it. You're tasting for is there a chance this is my favorite? And if the answer is no way this is my favorite, then we don't have to spend time on it. We
I
can
love
talk,
that.
but it allows you to get the pick done when your palate is still fresh. Otherwise, you end up arguing over how much people like things that maybe the third, fourth choice, but it's not going to be the first or second choice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've tasted A through C so far, and I'm like, wow, you guys made this one difficult.
Super chat here from Jose, our Nutty Squad team leader. He is saying #drink, #nutty.
And I think that's because Drew got up.
Oh, Drew got up? I didn't even see.
Well, they were asking, do we drink when Drew gets up? They drink when Chad gets
devil.
up. It's like one of those.
If that's the case, I would get up 100 times. I'm just gonna.
Drew's just
Drew's
standing up,
giving you a
sitting down,
warning.
standing up, sitting down. Yeah. Oh, C's got a very good nose.
Yeah. I like the
love
wood
C.
notes on C.
Check
C
plus.
and
Yeah, just a second ago, I was like,
Well, it's sort of, not that this is a bad thing, but it's traditional, but it's the good type of traditional. It's just like classic.
yeah, for sure. I don't want to say anything else because, like,
Got a
until
great
we
color.
are all through. them. I mean,
I'm
I
gonna
just
go ahead and
sipped D,
on that
and I was
pedestal. I think C's me so far.
yeah.
C is me.
C is
Yeah.
me. I sipped D, and I was like, oh, this is fun.
Whiskey D.
Yes, I'm not going to tell you what
I
I
like
think.
D a lot, too.
It was yeah. Just, I have guesses,
also like
but I don't
D.
want to spoil their time. Honestly, A, B, and C, I'm all a fan of. So this is going to be difficult, and I haven't tasted Whiskey E yet.
I'm now getting to Whiskey D.
Oh, but the nose on E.
Gotta do my patented system.
Patented system. Where are you at, Drew?
So far, C is my favorite. I'm on D right now, and it definitely has a finish on it, so it's different. I do like it a lot, but
It's
just wanna
definitely like, it feels like it stands out from the other four.
Well, that is
Yeah.
savory nose. Talking about Whiskey D.
Sorry, chat, that we're all over the place.
Then what are the
We'll come
favorites?
back together.
Are there any that anyone would propose to pick out?
Well, we haven't been through all of them yet.
Honestly, at this moment, I don't know. I mean, like, I could maybe get one down. But there's 3 or 4 that are pretty, like, I'd have to taste them again.
Fair enough.
I don't want to say anything before he's all the way through as far as which one I think that would be. But if you say kick 2 out, I'll give you 5 minutes to decide which 2. I think from this point I could do that.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm not saying you have to do that.
I'm getting
just
close.
saying.
I haven't even had the last one yet.
Right.
But I do want to take a second to recognize Justin, who is saying, "Hi guys, I'm new here. I've seen you guys way back during your appearance on Aquavite's V-Pub.
We love
Not sure what to
Aquavite.
expect, but always excited to be on a whiskey live stream." Well, welcome, Justin.
Thank you for joining us.
And then we have our next super chat, which is from
Big Vic.
Big Vic himself, Big Vic's Backyard BS, saying, "Happy late B-Day, Sarah, and cheers, Chad."
Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Bong. All right.
See, this is the part where I feel like when we do go on barrel picks, Chad always makes fun of me and says that I finish first and go, "Teacher, may I read? I finished my test." But like, usually I feel like I'll go through and I could know within the first 10 minutes which one I'm going to leave with, but then we go through the whole hour and it's interesting to see, like, it doesn't always, I'll be certain which one I would take, and then we usually take groups, and it's not always as clear cut for everyone else. And sometimes, like, I've had to leave my favorite behind a few times.
And Sarah's always right, so
It's so hard. How do you even,
yeah.
how do you reconcile that at the end of the day?
Mm.
I don't know.
Ooh. Okay. These are all really good. So it's not, for me, it's not a clear cut which one would I kick out. There is one that I have a certain feeling about. It's mass appeal, like it's time when it would be most wanted, we'll say,
maybe.
without any spoilers.
Well, now that I think everyone's through them all, for me, I like Whiskey D a lot, but I do feel like it's a bit of an outlier in this group. Is it? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but I feel like I would guess that it was a wine finish.
I think it's a rye.
I would guess
don't-
that it would be like a fortified wine finish or like a sherry or Madeira finish for sure.
That's what I was thinking,
Like it's
something like that.
directions.
Do you guys do? I feel like I've only had like 2 Mistel finishes before, but it reminds me of that. But maybe it's like a Madeira or something like that. I really like it a lot, but I do feel like I had stronger reactions immediately to a couple of other ones that are maybe a little bit more traditional. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Like I would, if I could just buy a bottle of this for myself, I would, and I would drink
What
it.
are you talking about?
Whiskey D, sorry. You have to remind
I
me.
would
of
also
that.
eliminate Whiskey D. I'd
So, yes.
eliminate it too.
In the
I like
interest
it a
of-
lot, but
as the the bad guy moderator, Andrew, would you die on the hill for Whiskey D?
No. I do like it.
No.
But I do feel like D and E were probably the weakest to me as far as what I want to represent its Bourbon Night. I feel like you could probably get those from Barrel, as a a nice pick, but more as like a standard offering. I feel like honestly B and C are probably the two that I like the most so far. But it's dependent on what people want. If they want a wine finish,
Sure.
I think that D is amazing. But I don't know that that's what everyone's going to want from this channel.
Also,
Yeah.
we've got 5 good options here, and no one is willing to defend it as the best. So let's just get rid of D.
Okay. Even though it makes me sad because, like, I feel like I could have a lot of fun doing a food pairing with Whiskey D. I really like it a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with saying goodbye to it.
Well, that was one that I was talking about. It's very, I think I said like seasonal or something. I could drink Whiskey D around the
The
holidays.
holidays, that bottle would go so quickly.
Yeah, but outside of that, I don't think it's
Not for you.
what would you say? It's not as
Doesn't feel as evergreen.
evergreen. Yeah.
I feel like it's
And we-
limited.
Yeah. That sort of limits it. So I'm completely fine with saying bye to Whiskey D.
Even though if it was on the shelf, I would buy a bottle.
Yeah, I would buy another
Probably.
pour if this were at a bar.
You're
If,
both
if
Sure.
you sell this barrel, let me know where it goes, and I'll definitely buy a couple bottles. I do like it
Sure.
a lot,
There you go.
but I don't know that everyone's going to like it, and that's what I feel like we're doing now is trying to pick for everyone. I want everyone.
Agreed.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just
We
'cause it's
do-
hard for me to hold this back, and we're eliminating it. But Lindsay and Sarah, you guys nailed it. This was a Boal Madeira finish whiskey.
Ooh.
Oh,
Nice.
okay. I was getting
So
more
in-
rye vibes off it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
good.
one's yummy.
That's good.
Oh.
We want to
Wow, interesting.
we continue with some wonderful super chats here tonight from Glenn and Kathy Golf Whiskey here. Says, happy birthday, Sarah. We are sipping some Barrel Batch 23. Good stuff.
Ooh.
And then we also have from Robot Scott, which we just saw Robot
We
Scott
did.
and No Name, I forget what I call her,
Coffee
No
Cup
Name
Katie.
Coffee Cup Katie. There we go. Saying, happy birthday, Sarah. Still thinking about that Booker's. Cheers.
We had a
Yeah.
1979 Batch 1 Booker's
Batch 1
this
Booker's.
weekend, and it was incredible. That's one
what you get for
triangle.
not buying me a sample.
Cheers, way to do it. Whoa, that was a lot. All right, let me get you a refill.
Teacher, I'm going to need some more B.
Yeah.
I'll take the same Glencairn.
Okay, we'll continue.
That
That was
it.
a first, I think.
That was a first. We've done
Oh, wait.
over 200 lives, and that's never happened. So,
There you go.
thank you.
We're down to 4 options here.
We are.
So the difficult job now is: does anyone want to propose what the next one to kick out would be?
Okay.
So I'll admit I am not there yet.
Okay.
So let's hold off on any suggestions for the moment, please.
All right. Well, I guess I don't necessarily know which one I want to kick out next, but I do know, I think, what my final 2 would be. So I think Drew might also know what his final 2 would be. Yeah, he knows.
I think I'm gonna get there real quick.
Well, no,
But-
no
I'm pissing
rush.
my food just to give everybody a chance, but
Just the due diligence.
Just please don't throw another glass at me, okay?
Quiet you, or
We
I'll,
have 30 minutes.
or I'll throw another whiskey. I'm hot-headed. You knew this.
I guess I'll go, just to make the conversation more interesting, which one would I cut next? I'm personally between A and E, which I think, Drew, you said you were kind of going that way too. Lindsay, what are you thinking?
I think E could go.
yep,
I think
agree.
it lacks
we could
like
do
a
that.
finish to me. It's really pleasant on the nose and the front palate, but it just, compared to the other samples, it just lacks a finish.
It's very soft. It is also, just to note, 108.06 proof. It is the lowest proof.
Get it out of here.
Which our group, we call them proof hounds.
Yeah.
I mean, and we are ourselves. So
Yeah.
I think for us, that's maybe why it's jumping out as the next one on the chopping block.
I have to agree. I wrote down, and again, please know that this is only meaning these 5. I wrote boring nose. I wrote candy. It's good, but a little flat.
It's soft and sweet and mild and mellow. And
that's
there's nothing wrong with it.
No, just in comparison
pleasant,
to these others. Yeah.
But yeah, I think A, B, and C got something on it. So,
so I would, yeah. Drew, you good with that?
Yeah, E, I didn't even write a nose down. That's how I thought of the nose. I do feel like if it was the other way around and we started with E, I think it would be phenomenal as a starting drink, as something that you want to share with your friends. I don't know that it would hold up if you went to a proof hound and then went and said, hey, here you go. This is what I want to show you. This is what Chad and Sarah did.
The fly fight effect. Yeah.
I feel like it would just get, Eagle Rare 17. It's not a bad whiskey, but when you put them all together with all the other beat tacks, it's going to lose almost every single time because it lacks complexity. So I feel like that's how this one is. It's a phenomenal whiskey. I would buy all of these, but I think this one, E, would be probably my next choice to go.
Then it is gone.
Then it shall be.
I am very happy that there's a consensus to get down to 3, although a little bit sad about this because it is a single barrel bourbon that was in blind tasting like 20 of them, my favorite, like 3 or 4 months ago.
It's very good.
And,
oh no.
No, it wasn't my favorite of all the options. It was just a single barrel of bourbon. I really loved this. And part of it is that it's 108 proof. All of the other ones in the set were in the 110s and 120s. And so it was a off-profile barrel in one way or another. So I agree. I think the other ones are showing in a sort of more robust, flavorful way. It's just, Lindsay, I'm sure you can test too. Like we all have certain samples and barrels and private releases that we like come to love ourselves a little bit. And this was actually the one that I was going to put money on you guys were going to pick if I hadn't tasted it now, but I totally understand why you didn't pick it this time because I'm tasting them again now. I've never tasted these 5 next to each other. I've just tasted them at different times. So, but at the same time, it is also the simplest on paper of everything because it's just a single barrel Indiana bourbon.
We've said it many times before. You can sit down with a glass of any whiskey and be completely content with it, be having a great time. You put that same whiskey in a flight fight and you're doing it blind next to other things, and just the other whiskey's personalities or eccentricities. I said it right. We'll do things to it that combat it, and we see that a lot with like some Four Roses things because a lot of Four Roses barrels will have very unique and complex things where you put it next to other ones, and either it's going to rise to the top or it's going to go down to the bottom, and it can happen with any whiskey. Yeah.
No, I agree with what Drew said. Like, would be happy to buy any of these off the shelf. I do like E, but I think, as you just described, it being 108 against these other ones, where we do tend to gravitate towards a little bit higher proof. It is very nice. It's really pleasing. But yeah, just like I said, I already know what my top 2 are. Oh, you moved them. Now I gotta get used to.
I know. Yeah. Sorry.
We're splitting your time. I gotta. I don't remember what I was saying, but I figured out my top 2, and I've kind of known since the first taste through what those would be. So I'm waiting for you to also arrive at the same conclusion, and I really want to see what Lindsay would pick.
Should I tell you my top 2 so far?
I would like to know your top 2.
I definitely like B and C. I like A a lot too, but I feel like that's also probably like a finished whiskey. But I like E a lot. I think B is my favorite one. I think it has the most complexity to it. It's got like fruit notes, but then it also has like your traditional bourbon palette of like bittersweet chocolate and some wood notes. And then I like C a lot too because I feel like C's got that dark cherry fruit to it. It's like a little bit more fruit forward, but it's got more length than E had. So, and it seems to be like more traditional bourbon palette as well. So I feel like if your group likes that palette, I feel like those are my 2 favorite ones. I do like A though a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like A benefited from being
The first
the
one.
first, even though we've gone through twice.
I gotta
but-
say, the more I go back to it, though, the more I think I discover on A. However, I will say I've tasted through them a few times, and from the beginning, it was B and C for me, and I still
Yeah.
feel the same way. And I
Well,
think Drew said the same thing, right?
Yes.
Give us just one second.
Oh,
here.
we're gonna do some super chats.
1 second here, Drew, so we can catch up on some super chats. This is from Cameron saying, "Sarah, too bad about D. How about how about it compared to that Barrel SP from Georgia that you all had a good while back?"
I mean, I'd have to try them side by
Yeah,
side.
that's true.
But honestly, I don't think. I mean, I really like the Barrel Private Selects. I haven't had one that I've been like, no thanks, pass.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
I'd have to try them side by side to give you notes, though.
That's true. Brian Bridicke with a
What's
birthday
going
super
on?
chat. Birthday cheers for Sarah. Any tribute to Chad's loss of hand-eye coordination. It's going.
What was that,
It's
Brian?
going all the. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we weren't on live last week, so 2 weeks I got out of.
Ask him when you see him. I just made him a delicious dinner, and he just throws a glass at me. Jeez.
I'm all befuddled from it,
Oh my
apparently.
gosh.
And Ray, King of the North here with another birthday super chat saying, "Happy belated birthday, Sarah. Tried some gray labeled Dovetail as well as Batch 25 over the weekend. Both were fantastic and put me immediately on the hunt." Well, we got the people here to let you know where maybe you can grab some.
A triangle to those.
All of those, yes. Thank you very much.
All right.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Yeah, I think we were going to Drew.
Drew, are we all right with let's pick out sample A and we'll decide between B and C?
How do you feel, Chad? Because you did write down wow.
Well, that was the beginning. Let's
That
hear
was
from
the
let's hear from
beginning.
Drew.
Okay.
I personally, when I tasted B and C, I felt like those two were standouts. I can't understand how C is a lower proof than B. I feel like there's more complexity there. It is beyond me to figure that one out. It's kind of crazy. I feel like B is such an easier sipper. C has the spice, has the normal Kentucky notes to it. It might not be from Kentucky, but it does taste like a really nice bourbon. But A out of the three is my least favorite. Not knocking it at all. It's fantastic. But I feel like B and C are just a step above.
Yeah. I think A has like a nice, the more I sip it, the more I get like a honey quality from it.
Yeah.
And I really like that a lot.
I put tea. It's sort of like a honey tea.
But B and C come across as more, like you said, like more traditional. I think the tough part now is going to be choosing between them because, like, for me, I get a little bit more desserty on B and a little bit more Woodford on C, but they're both, like, really the mouthfeel, like, all the flavors, the layers, everything, the finish.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. But I am curious, will you tell us what A is, since I think we've officially kicked it out?
Right.
The private release whiskey with an Oloroso sherry finish on it.
Oloroso
Which
sherry.
is wild because I'm usually like, I'm like maybe 20% of the time I'll like a sherry finish, and I really like that, and I couldn't tell.
That's got to be the best Oloroso sherry finish
I
that
think
we've
for
had
sure.
before. Because, yeah, we've had, a fair amount of them. And
About the private release whiskey program from us is Nick, who's the head of our private release and single barrel program and on the blending team. We will put down all of these different finishes and she'll taste them periodically before she's ready to sort of release the samples for people to make the picks. And until she releases the sample, she will adjust them for what she thinks they need to sort of stay in balance or have more character. And this sample A is a little bit lower proof than most of the private release whiskeys are. And I think what happened with this, tasting it, and I don't know this for sure, but tasting it with me, there's a lot of spice character to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it tastes to me like Nick blended some rye into it.
I was going to ask you what the rye content on that was because it was
Drew
very
called
spicy.
it.
Herbaceousness and it is a very delicate sherry note on it. It's not a sherry bomb at all.
No.
And so it's interesting because I agree that I think B and C are much more opulent whiskeys. I think that
opulent.
it's hard to pick A over B or C because it's like you can have a windbreaker that fits you perfectly, but you're going to pick the fur coat if you got to decide between the two, you know? Um, but I find A to be really fascinating because it is the sherry is there. Once you know it's a sherry finish, you can kind of taste it. But it's just an extremely restrained sherry finish in a way that I think is beautiful.
It's
I
still
wouldn't
so
have guessed Oloroso sherry though. I would have guessed like PX or something a little bit sweeter because it's got more like fruit on the palate.
I
It
agree.
does, yeah.
I was going to say the rye spice punches you in the face, and then it has a sweet note right after. I would have thought of PX Barrel too, honestly.
That's lovely.
You guys
like-
did a great job with that one.
These have all been excellent.
Yeah.
And if you had if like B and C weren't in this flight, if you had only set a flight of 3, I mean, I would have picked this one if it had just been whiskey A, D, and E. Like,
Oh yeah.
I would. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Well, but they would all be so different. I don't know.
No, I think
I think I would
I
have
do.
picked
I gotta
this
agree
one.
with it was the
Yeah.
third one that we kicked out, so yeah, it would have been.
I guess that makes sense. It's not as revolutionary as I thought of a statement, but
A few more super chats here. We got.
But, like-
so
You know, there has to be a winner, and so it's some of them show better than others. Every time you go to a flight, like
yeah,
sometimes there's a clear winner too. Everyone
absolutely.
in one of these tastings, and me or Lindsay or other people in the company will be like sort of texting, being like, obviously they're gonna like this is the best.
obviously
like,
it's C. I love that.
We knew it the first time you
Right in that
tried it.
there's no dogs in it to me, though. I'm happy we're doing it the way we're doing it, where I feel like we sort of eliminated things that weren't going to win, even if we liked them.
Yeah.
And that what we're
Absolutely.
looking at, I think, are the two most powerful whiskeys of the 5.
Yeah. We're gonna catch up on some super chats here. This one's from Scott Pigsley, one of our moderators here. Says, "Happy birthday, Sarah. Chad, I hope my special delivery arrived safely." It did. Yes, it did.
I didn't answer the door, so
Oh yeah, no, I did, and it did. Thank you for that, Scott. And Mr. Multitasker here, Andrew Bolin, picking barrels and also sending super chats.
he gets all the participation awards.
Yeah, really. Wow. Gets the gold star tonight. You guys are awesome. Happy birthday, Sarah.
Well, thanks, Drew.
Ah, that's nice. And we got one more here
Too kind.
from Michael S. saying, "Dag nabbit, I'm late to the apparent party and happy trip around the sun, Sarah."
Thank you.
To all y'all, thank you.
You guys are the best.
Thank you
It's not
much.
even really my birthday. I mean, it is. It was.
It was a few days ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
We weren't on alive then.
Lindsay, I'm
I
curious.
said we weren't on alive.
Oh, alive. Yeah.
In your time with the company, is there a single barrel or a private release that stands out to you? Either if it was a pick you did with someone or one that you had tasted that is like sticks in your brain as your favorite?
There's a few that I definitely remember, but it was those GD Vira Barolo finishes. We did like a small project with GD Vira, which is a producer of Barolo up in Piedmont, and we got some single barrel Barolos, like just the barrels, and then we put some whiskey in them. So we made like just a few of them. They all yielded around like 160 or so bottles, but those were stunning. And they were all over 130 proof too. So they were not shy on proof, but they had so much flavor and length to them. I thought Nick did a great job with that project.
Well, this is tough. This is not easy.
I feel like this is an impossible task.
Yeah. So while we stall, Gerald here with the super chat saying, "Great job, guys. Happy birth week, Sarah."
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Give you a Glencairn cheers.
Like, I don't want to compare these to other brands because, like,
Do it.
but sometimes for the audience, it's like the only way to give them an idea.
Do it.
For me, Whiskey C is reminding me of like a really great Stag Junior pick, which is strange though because we've ended up with Sample B and Sample C, which are Sample B is 119.3 and Sample C is 112.92. So we've booted the two highest, which were A and D.
What?
Sample D was the highest at 123.78. So
Yeah.
you can't say that we just picked the highest proof one because we didn't. But that's what C is kind of reminding me of, like the things that I love and like a really nice Stag Junior. Maybe not quite as high of proof. It's not kicking you as hard, but it's like all those yummy flavors and But there's something about B also. It's like super layered and complex. I just don't know.
I know.
It's
I think
a little bit more desserty, maybe.
nose-wise, I'm gonna give it to B.
I agree with that.
But
I think C
That's-
knows.
really, all right. Well,
Yeah.
now we're finally getting some division.
Wait, we
here,
need a tiebreaker, Lindsay.
which is actually interesting.
I like B. I like the nose on B a lot.
You're wrong, Drew.
I
just-
I like
more
C
of a
too.
cherry nose, like she said, Stag Junior-esque. It had cherry. I felt like B. It had a way better nose than A. The mouth feels great. It's got a caramel and almost like a slight butterscotch flavor. I do love that a lot. But C almost had, like you said, a Stag Junior cherry, an oak, and just a weird, like solid bourbon finish that I rarely see in other bourbon or in other barrels. I personally think I'm with you guys. I like B better, but I think that sample C just had a better nose for me. It was
I don't know where you got that saying B. Oh, you're saying B on the nose. Okay. Because
No,
I haven't weighed in. Yeah.
I say C nose. I say B as far as palate and mouthfeel.
Interesting.
Man, I don't know. I'm really stuck.
Huh.
I'm going back and forth. C just has like something I can't quite put my finger on, but it just feels right. Honestly, I
It's
got
like that comfort food.
to be honest. First time through, C was the one I was literally like, oh,
Yeah.
that's like I reacted physically to that one and was like, again, if you had asked Will in the first 10 minutes which one it would have been, or of us tasting, I would have said we're gonna walk away with C. This is very hard.
This is very hard. But I 100% agree with you, Sarah.
That was your first reaction?
The first reaction, like B, I wrote, oh, this is a much better nose than A. And it's a little nutty. I don't know if I get that anymore, but at the time I did. And I was really just commenting about how it was better than A. But then when I tried C for the first time, I did check mark plus on the nose. I said a little bit of citrus. Then I just started writing like yes and wowza and things that don't matter.
It's because you tasted them all so in depth.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways, I think I have my answer.
I'm not there yet. So
Okay.
please stall by reading
I will.
Hot Toddy, who just by 1 cent upped Woo Drew.
How rude.
Let's say, oh, you
it
go
doesn't
ahead.
matter.
You go.
That's 1 cent. Hot Toddy says, "Happy birthday, Sarah. 29 years old? ? You don't look a day over 24. Cheers." That's very sweet of you. No, I am firmly in my 30s now, but I'm not mad about it because I have better whiskey to drink than when I was 24.
And I think Todd likes the.
No, nobody likes it.
I think he
No
does.
one likes that.
You like it, right, Todd? Yeah, he's told me that before.
No. It's
There
my
it is.
birthday, and I say no air horn.
Well, you do higher than Todd then, and we'll do no air horn.
I'll kick you
I
off
like
this
too
show.
much that Sarah hates it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
See,
I have
what's
to say, I
unfair?
was the opposite. Oh,
Go ahead, Lindsay.
But
Go ahead.
I was the opposite of what you said at first. I thought B was the standout of the bunch, and now I'm going back, and I like C on the palate better than B now. It's weird how that happened.
I really like
Yeah.
the wood characteristics that are coming through, and it's like, I don't know. What were you going to say?
I don't know.
You
Oh,
said it's unfair.
no, it's unfair because if each of us had just this pour at home, sitting in our favorite chair, there's a fire going,
I'm going to pour all of these
The-
back into the bottle to do it like you're saying.
the dog is at your feet, and we would be completely more than content. We'd be very, very happy. These two are now fighting each other, which isn't always fair. It's like, it's almost like don't pick favorites among your kids. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Which is literally what Lindsay and Will have to do like all the time.
Right, yeah. I don't envy your job now.
What I find really interesting about this decision is, and again, I know what they are, so I'm gonna try to stay as neutral as I can here. But I find that B moves on the palate a lot more. That you don't exactly get what you'd expect on the palate versus the nose, and there's aspects to B where I get this like really beautiful brown sugar, like light brown sugar quality to it. Like you know the feeling of like the light brown sugar that you bake with the first time you open it, not when you've rolled up the bag and you have to like microwave it to be able to use it again. Like the first, or it's like the when you're making cookies when you're growing up, and there's like you've got the brown sugar and the butter, and that's it before you add up the stuff. It's like, why don't you just eat this? This is better than the cookies are. I get that kind of quality to B. C to me is just a more powerful sample. And so for someone who is like, I love bourbon and I want bourbon to punch me in the face with its bourbon fist, he does that all the time. Whomever was comparing it to a Stag Junior pick, I think that like C is an oak-driven, powerful bourbon, strangely lower proof, but I think has a lot more astringency and oak character to it.
It has some punch.
It's got low proof syndrome.
I don't think it necessarily has the complexity that B has, but it definitely has the assertiveness. It has a like really strong assertiveness. And the fact that it's lower proof, though it doesn't make a lot of sense because it feels so much more powerful. A lot of oak cogeners are water soluble, and so it makes some sense that it is lower proof because it seems to hold a lot more oak. When you have barrels these are both at cask strength. So when you have things that are at cask strength at a lower proof, especially when they're older, they show more character because there's oak cogeners that are water soluble versus alcohol soluble.
Yeah, the way you just explained it, like, exactly encapsulates the struggle that I'm having between these. Whereas, like, I think B is a bit more complex. I think there's maybe a little bit more going on, maybe mouthfeel wise. Some more desserty flavors. C is just giving me like oaky, delicious bourbon punch.
Well, as I said, like,
and I really like that.
Yeah, I think my first description was, it's classic. It's elevated classic, but it's classic. It's playing the hits. You're going to the concert, and they're not playing stuff off the new album. They're playing the hits. But the hits are good. The hits make you feel good. You want the hits. You're not there for the new album because honestly, the new album.
Who's listened to it? Have you listened to it?
Yeah. Once through. It's
all right. Good. Well, it's time to choose.
Well, I just want to say we need a little bit more B. Some idiot spilled mine.
It was you.
Yeah.
I have a little bit more.
It was me. I'm still a little torn. Natalie and Brulia.
Well, it's you. At this point, you're just drinking.
That's my karaoke song, by the way.
What?
Oh yeah, we need to go karaokeing, Will.
Next time we're in New York, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
nothing's right. I'm torn.
But it's a cover.
Yes, he told me this the other day. Yeah, I did not know that.
It's a cover. It's one of those rare covers that's better than the original. I feel like, but maybe it's just because I've heard
that.
Yeah. Dang. Now I'm not sure.
I'm honestly not sure either. These would both be good.
For
different reasons.
What's impressive? What? Go ahead, Drew.
Do 2 sips of each.
Yeah.
And B's just got a lot more to offer. I love C. Absolutely think it's phenomenal. If B was not involved, hands down C is the champ.
It would be C.
I thought C was going to be the winner by a long shot when I first tasted through. Coming back to it though, I think because A was so spicy, B kind of hid in the shadows, and then once I tasted backwards, I think that I got some of C on B, and I was like, ooh, yum. And then I cleansed my palate, and then I was like, no, B is just really that good.
Yeah.
I do love C. I really do. I think it's, like you said, classic, what I would say Kentucky bourbon, and it could not be Kentucky. I could be completely wrong, but just the bright fruit notes. I just feel like B just has more complexity, and the mouth feels just a little bit more.
I gotta say,
I've drank
all of my sample B and not all of sample C. So I feel like I'm leaning towards B. There's just a little bit more to like unwrap there as far as the experience goes. Like, if I could take them both, I would take them both. But we're gonna take. I mean, we gotta take one. And
can we take them both?
I don't know about that.
I feel like this would be a really good Chad and Sarah pick.
Oh, come on. We'll pick one, and then you just get the other one, Drew.
Hey, I'm in. I like them both. I think they're both great.
It almost comes down to what are you in the mood for? Because they're both just so exceptional.
But I think
I'm gonna be
like,
happy with either one if we. Whichever
yeah.
one. Yeah. Oh man.
So Lindsay, where did you end up?
She ended up on C.
Well, I didn't. I just thought C like showed better after I went through it, and I was like, oh, I do like
Okay.
the palette more. It has like a longer palette, but it was more oak forward than B. Personally, for
Sure.
me, as like my palette, I like B better, and I did at the
Oh.
beginning too. But I think C is a strong contender because it does have that traditional bourbon palette. It's like got more oak on the palette. I think it presents more oak forward than B does. So, but I would buy multiple
Yeah.
bottles of B and probably have too much to drink of B sitting
Yeah.
with it one night. So
B feels
that's
like
how
one
I
that you
feel
could
about B.
just. Yeah, I feel like I could just have like multiple pours of B.
Okay.
They're both again. At this point, like, I know you said you weren't going to weigh in, but I would like your input because
Yeah, because we've
I'm
got
leaning
everyone's
away.
we've got everyone's vote.
Are you sure? Because I hate doing this, but I will if you really want me to.
Well, if you say C, I'm gonna.
He's gonna say
No,
E.
I'm just kidding.
First of all, I think everyone here is leaning towards B, and so I don't feel bad about recommending that because I think that's where we're going anyway. I think C is in the running here because of how flavorful it is, but it is not nearly as interesting a whiskey as B is. I think that B is, for someone who likes whiskey, not just bourbon. B is a
Yeah.
bourbon,
Yeah.
but also is a very interesting whiskey. There's a lot going on in it, and it makes a lot of sense if you're okay with me revealing what they are. That kind of is true when you know the like nitty gritty of them too.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So B and C are both bourbons.
Okay.
B is a private release bourbon, so it's a blend, and I actually happen to have the breakdown here. Let me just make sure that I'm getting this right. It is 35% 5-year-old bourbon, 45% 7-year-old bourbon, 10% 10-year-old bourbon, and 10% 17-year-old bourbon.
Oh.
So there's 12-year age gap in terms of what exists, and all of the components are a reasonably significant amount.
Yeah.
One of those came from vats that were actually different distilleries and mash bills at the same age. So there's a lot of ingredients in B. B is almost like a mini batch, if you will, from us.
Yeah.
Is it all one state, or are we talking about different states?
Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, but B is, I happen to know that with this set of blends is very Indiana focused, but there is Kentucky and Tennessee in it as well.
Interesting.
Well, C is a 9-year-old cask strength MVP bourbon.
Oh.
So it's a lot of power and everything is 9, which is why it definitely has more oak. What's interesting is that it is low proof for what these usually show up in the high teens at that age.
Yeah.
So it was probably
For sure.
more humid warehouse for a little while. And I love C, but to me, C is a bourbon that either you need to love oak or you need to make it into an old fashioned kind of. Whereas B is a more, it's like a more cerebral whiskey, so like a sipper. So I'm not saying I'm choosing for you, but it seemed like everyone was leaning there, and I like.
It took me a while, but I eventually did start coming around to B.
Between the two.
Between B and C, I think, you tell me so many times in fly fights to go with your first instinct, and I was, which was C.
Me too.
But as we started doing that A-B comparison, and I would have C on my palate, and then I would go to B and vice versa, I really started to come around to B. So, yeah I think my vote changed
I found
to
that
B.
While I liked C a lot, it was very classic, like 2 things.
Uh-huh.
Whereas I think B had like 10 things going on.
More hits to play.
There's definitely like
Yeah.
a lot more to just, every time you sip B, you're going to notice something different. Like, oh, the mouthfeel, the finish.
Yep.
Wow, there's that berry flavor, and
You're
there's
gonna
that
pick
like
more
brown
out.
sugar flavor,
Uh-huh.
and all these things that you're just going to break down throughout it. Whereas C is just like really classic and solid. I think B is a little bit more fun to
B
sip
also
through.
B shows off what we do as a company better than I think C does. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's a great point too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be B.
It's going to be B?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's B.
We did it.
We did,
At just an
everybody.
hour. Really at 9 o'clock.
Woo!
Wow.
Wow.
You really cutting it
we
close, Chad.
timed that, like, commercial breaks and all. Really well.
Um,
I gotta say though, I like this Madeira finish a lot.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Nice. Okay.
We did
We
it.
picked our first barrel, everybody.
Good job, team.
And if those in the chat are wondering how you'll be able to get access to the bottle, we release our bottles to our Patreon community. So if you are so inclined, take a look at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/itsbourbonnight. And that's where we release our barrels to our Patreon community.
You can decide for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Drew, since you are on the pick team, you get to have more bottles if you like, and I feel like you like. So,
I like.
yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I want to say this just because my first thing when I said I was going to be on the pick was please don't give me Tennessee whiskey. And I was completely wrong. So you nailed it with that one. That's awesome.
I would like to say I did write down here my very first taste of B. Well, I'll just say Tennessee, question mark? But the more I drank, the less that went away.
Yeah.
The more
I
think it like
break down,
Oh,
but
go ahead.
I would be surprised if there's more than 10 or 12% Tennessee.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's very subtle and it like adds like a rich whatever it is, it's got like a rich characteristic, which I could see like maybe where you would connect those dots.
Well-
but I never once tasting through any of these was like any one particular flavor
Right.
or anything is jumping
It
out.
was just that very first taste, and I wrote right before it, nutty.
Nutty.
And I think that's why I was like, oh, I think it's a little nutty. I think it might be because of this place in Tennessee, question mark. But then second sip, that kind of all went away, and subsequent sips, that wasn't even there anymore. But that was my very first impression, but
I never even
yeah.
yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Very good, very good.
Well, thank you all, both. Thank you both, Lindsay and Will, for coming
Yes.
on and guiding us through this tasting and giving us your input. Obviously, we needed a moderator and we needed some guidance, Lindsay.
Yeah,
so thank
yeah,
you so
yeah.
much. We
And-
really appreciate it.
And thank you, Drew, for your excellent tasting and guidance as well. Oh, oh.
Telling me.
Those 5 pours hitting you?
That one hit the floor, but
That one did hit.
yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll talk to you soon. And thanks again for including us in the pick and being such really like wonderful friends to the brand all the time. If there's ever anything we can do for you, please let us know.
Of course.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for that. Thank you.
All right.
And
All right,
happy
we're gonna-
birthday again.
Oh, thanks. You're so sweet.
All right, we're gonna say bye to you guys, but we're gonna hang on to say bye to everyone here in the chat. So thank you, thanks, Will and Lindsay and Drew.
We look forward to getting this bottled and out
Yes,
to our
yes,
patrons.
yes. All right, see you guys soon. Okay, well, we picked a barrel.
We did pick a barrel.
Yeah,
Whiskey was harmed in the making of this barrel pick.
yeah, which normally it's not, but it was.
I hope Matt, ADHD Whiskey, finds that clip of you throwing the glass.
Oh, he will.
And uses it for Matt Madness.
He will. He will.
Chad will get you. If he doesn't like it, he'll throw a
I'll
glass
just
at
throw.
you.
I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Throw a glass
It's your birthday.
at what ends up being the barrel that we picked.
The one that we picked. Oh, it's not like we could have used extra of it to like make notes or anything.
It's all gone. But it was recorded for posterity, so we can
Hey, it was recorded.
go back
There's
and,
that.
and watch.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sipping A again. I can't believe that's an Oloroso. Like, we've had...
As strong of a reaction I've had to sherry finishes in the past, the fact that I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's really delicately and like well blended or like finished and
Yes.
blended because I think he said there was some rye in here, which Drew called out like immediately.
Yeah.
which I respect that a lot.
Drew's a bloodhound, man.
I think it's just like having that balance of that rye spice with a delicately finished thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little bit sad to leave some of these behind. I'm like, I kind of want, like,
Well,
what
we
Drew
got
said.
a little bit of A left.
But it's like what Drew said. Who's going to get these and where can I get them in the future? Because I would like to buy a bottle. So.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, like we've had Oloroso sherry finish from the big dogs, the big
ones.
guys, and
I was like,
not been impressed. It's been like our worst of those series, and that's got to be the best Oloroso
Delicious.
sherry that
I've had for sure, hands down.
Now, what was the other one? I guess it was it E?
That was finished.
It was the
Whiskey D was a Madeira finish.
Madeira finish. Okay, gotcha.
Which I would just like to say, Lindsay and I were both like, this is a wine finish.
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
I said Mistel. She said Madeira.
I was taking that as rye because it's very winter mint, almost sort of,
It does have some minty, but it's so grapey
and very
and syrupy.
Oh, that's not floral, but it almost like
It does have a hint of floral. Though.
well, like cilantro. It's like it's pretty.
It's pretty.
Hits you like the way that's too much cilantro.
So, but I think okay, I love cilantro, and I think that's kind
Same.
of like what we were talking about with Whiskey D up front. Is
Yeah.
that it's for some people and not for other people.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
if you love
It'd be a
cilantro,
little divisive.
then you'll love it. But
Or
if
it
you
could
don't,
potentially be
obviously
divisive.
it doesn't
Yeah.
taste like cilantro. But we're
Yeah.
just using that as an example. Like
Yeah.
if you love it, then you will be over the moon about it. But if you're not
Yeah.
into it, then that's not going to be the one for you.
This is a good question
I
here.
think B is for everyone.
I think B is
B is for everyone.
for everyone, and me twice on Sundays. Stupid question, maybe. There are no stupid questions, just stupid drinkers. Are finished bourbons come? I don't mean that. I always thought that wasn't much of a thing with bourbons. No, definitely in the past, what would you say, like 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Finished bourbons have really become much more common. You'll see it in like LEs or just new expressions popping up a lot.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Especially as like new distilleries or other I don't know, just people who source look for a way to like put
Transform
their
it.
vision out there and transform a whiskey.
So like MGP, which we were drinking tonight, like a lot of people will source barrels from MGP because they're a non-producing distiller and have to put their stamp on it, right? So they'll finish it somehow.
But I also think that we're seeing a trend of like bourbon moving in the same way that Scotch has moved.
Yeah.
You see a lot of finishes in Scotch, and I think that people in the bourbon industry were paying attention and applying that now to bourbon.
Of course.
It's obviously treated differently, but
Yeah.
I think you'll see a lot more trends like that.
I mean, you look at like at Lux Row, the Blood Oath.
Oh, the Blood Oath. Yes.
It's always finished, and that's like their LE of the year, right? So you can see that. It's just it's a way to use another barrel. It's a way to raise the price a little bit sometimes, but just transform that whiskey in ways that, with the rules of bourbon, you're confined to how you can change the taste, and this gives you a lot more leeway on how to do it. But
I've had 5 pours.
I've had 5 pours on the floor.
You have had a floor pour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks everyone for all the
All
birthday
the birthday
love.
super
Yeah.
chats and all the love. You guys
Yeah.
are. I thought because my birthday was in the middle of the week, I was like, oh well, we won't do a birthday live. It's okay.
But here it was.
here we are,
And
and
a
you
barrel
guys-
pick. What a better
you
way.
guys brought the birthday
Yeah.
love, and we did the barrel pick. It was great. Couldn't have asked for a better one.
Hey, this
Very
is.
happy.
I was not aware of this, but this is great to put up. I was late, but I headed over to Whiskey and Stuff for their charity stream.
Stuff and Whiskey. I'm headed over to Stuff and Whiskey.
That was my dyslexia kicking
okay.
in. Stuff and Whiskey for their charity
Can't
stream.
even say dyslexia.
I know.
It's okay.
Dyslexia?
That's
Just a bad porno name. For their live stream. See you all soon. Please head
Okay.
over to Stuff and Whiskey.
Now we're demonetized, though.
Nah, not past the 9 o'clock hour. It's like Safe Harbor. But yeah.
Well, now I'm uncomfortable. I want to go.
Happy birthday, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah. Was it a good one?
It was. What? Do you want a star?
Yeah.
He does. He wants a gold
I
star.
want a gold star. Yeah. Now, we'll be back next Sunday. I don't know what is on the calendar, but there is something on the calendar, so we'll be doing that.
We'll be doing something. Chad is in rare form tonight. He's all over the place. I don't know what's going on with him, but We'll get him to bed. But yes, we will be back next Sunday with an episode that is a surprise to you and also to us because we don't know yet.
We can't remember what it
but we will
was.
Formulate it and plan it tomorrow, and it'll be great.
Yeah, there you go.
And I can't wait to have this whiskey bottled. Very excited.
Our first barrel craft spirits pick.
Smelling the glass afterwards too.
Ooh.
It has a good smelling afterglass. That should be a nosing note. It should
Afterglass.
be an afterglass
How's the
note.
afterglass
Not
note,
just like
though?
the color, the legs, whatever. The afterglass.
That's good.
I like it. All right.
All right, folks. Let me find the graphic. Because I had to move some things around tonight. Here it is.
There it is.
It says, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Sunday. Both of those are true. Now I got to find the song. Here it is. I found it. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next Sunday. Good night.
Bye.